गुफ्तगू कर रहे हैं।
Answered a lot of phone calls. I made a lot of phone calls, and again, I'm happy about where we are. I think the president has struck a good deal for the American people, but fundamentally, the Iranians have got to take the next step, or the president has a lot of options to go back to the war.
Do you know if Iranians requested that you join the talks?
I don't know that. I would be surprised if that was true. But, you know, I wanted to be involved because I thought I could make a difference. And obviously, I think the people really on the ground doing the day-to-day negotiating have been Steve and Jared. They've done a great job. But we're going to keep on working this as a team, as we always have. You know, Pete's been very helpful of the various military elements of this. Marco's obviously been extremely involved. We work as a team. We work effectively. And, you know, yeah, I've been on the phone a lot the past couple of days, but we're glad to be where we are.
Mr. Vice President, how is the United States accomplishing its stated objective of ensuring Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon ever if they still have highly enriched uranium?
And what's the plan to get the uranium out?
Well, look, I mean, this is one of the things that's going to be one of the main subjects of negotiation is that we want Iran to not be able to make a nuclear weapon. We want the nuclear fuel, which is something the president has made very clear. And there, again, the way to think about this is the United States has certain demands and certain things that we want. The Iranians have things they can get out of the negotiation. The more that they're willing to give us, I think the more they're going to get things out of this negotiation. The president's talked about sanctions relief. The president's talked about economic partnerships and things like that. That's not going to happen unless the Iranians make a firm commitment to stop anything close to the development of a nuclear weapon. And frankly, the president has all the cards here. We've got a lot of leverage. We've got a lot of things that we can do. But right now, I think that we're in a good spot.
Is the threat to wipe Iranian civilization off the map still on the table? And is it fair to keep 90 million Iranians under that threat for the actions of their leaders?
Well, look, the leadership is really to blame for the condition of the country in Iran. The president of the United States has made very clear that the United States has a lot of leverage here. We have economic leverage. We've got military leverage. What he's trying to do is make sure the American people are safe and strike a deal that's good for the American people. I encourage the Iranians to come to the table seriously. We've seen some signs that they're going to do that. We've seen some signs of bravado. Fundamentally, we're in a good spot. They're reopening the straits. We have a ceasefire. And frankly, if they break their end of the bargain, then they're going to see some serious consequences.
But wiping them off the map is different than an economic leverage or military leverage. Why is that kind of language useful in this kind of scenario?
Well, again, the President of the United States is saying that unless the Iranians do the right thing, he is going to have some serious consequences for the regime. We obviously don't want the people of Iran to suffer, but we have a lot of leverage that the President of the United States could use, and it's why I think it's so important for the Iranians to be negotiators in good faith.
Okay, X has been abuzz the last couple of days with the Free Press story saying that senior Pentagon officials in January, including Rich Colby, brought Cardinal Pierre into the Pentagon.
Brought who?
Cardinal Christophe Pierre into the Pentagon.
I haven't seen this story, unfortunately.
And essentially the reporting by the Free Press is that they told him that the American military has a lot of might and they can do whatever they want, and the church should get on its side. Does that message sound correct to you? Is that something you would sign off on?
So one, I with no disrespect to the Cardinal, I don't know who Cardinal Christophe Pierre is.
He's the ambassador to the Holy See and the U.S.
Oh, okay. I do. I've met him before. Sorry, I just didn't remember the name. I've never seen this reporting. I'd like to actually talk to Cardinal Christophe Pierre and, frankly, to our people to figure out what actually happened. I think it's always a bad idea to offer an opinion on stories that are unconfirmed and uncorroborated, so I'm not going to do that.
Sir, on the question of Iran's enriched uranium, do you see a scenario in which the administration may be willing to agree to allow Iran to continue enriching uranium for civilian nuclear purposes?
Well, look, what the president has said is that we don't want Iran to have the capacity to build a nuclear weapon. The president's also said that we don't want Iran enriching towards a nuclear weapon, and we want Iran to give up the nuclear fuel. Those are going to be our demands during the negotiation, and again, we're going to see what the Iranians are willing to give up. If they make a good faith effort to actually give us the things that we need to have a successful negotiation for the security of the American people, I think there's a lot on the other end. If they don't give us what we need, then I think it's going to be bad, but I'm optimistic that the Iranians are going to be smart, that they're going to negotiate in good faith.
And your negotiating partner in Iran, I know Kevin sort of asked about this already, but he essentially is saying that they're distrustful of the U.S. for, he tweeted out that 3 of the 10 points in the ceasefire framework have already been violated. They're distrustful of the U.S. What do you make of him tweeting that out before negotiations?
So I thought it was interesting, actually, because I did see that tweet from Ghalibaf actually just a couple of minutes ago. And let me say a few things. First of all, he said that there are a few points of disagreement before the negotiation. Well, that must mean that there's a lot of points of agreement, because there's a 15-point plan floating around. There's a 10-point plan floating around. If he's frustrated about 3 issues, that actually means that there's a lot of agreement. That's point number 1. Point number 2, to respond to each of those issues, and I read it very closely. Let me just say this. I actually wonder how good he is at understanding English, because there are things that he said that frankly didn't make sense in the context of the negotiations that we've had. But to address the 3 points, first of all, he talked about an attack that had allegedly happened on Iran and how that was a violation of the ceasefire. Ceasefires are always messy. An hour after the president announced the ceasefire, the Iranians launched a bunch of missiles. Then the Israelis responded. Then some of the Gulf Arab states responded. This is the nature of a ceasefire. No ceasefire ever goes without a little bit of choppiness. What we have been very clear about is that we want to stop the bombing. We want our allies to stop the bombing, and we want the Iranians to do the same thing. We're seeing evidence that things are going in the right direction, but it's going to take a little time. The second thing Ghalibaf said, which again I found fascinating, is he said, we refuse to give up the right to enrichment. And I thought to myself, you know what? My wife has the right to skydive, but she doesn't jump out of an airplane, because she and I have an agreement that she's not going to do that, because I don't want my wife jumping out of an airplane. We don't really concern ourselves with what they claim they have the right to do. We concern ourselves with what they actually do. And I think the president's been very clear on the enrichment question. Our position on that has not changed. I think the third thing that he said was Lebanon. Okay, and again, I actually think that is a reasonable misunderstanding, but neither us nor the Israelis said that that was going to be part of the ceasefire. Again, we're working with people to try to get through some of these things, but it's really fundamentally, we're on the right track. We got a lot more to do. We got a lot more that the Iranians are going to have to accept as part of this negotiation, but I think we've got a strong hand and we're going to play it well. Thank you all. Have a safe trip back.
अमरीकी नायब सदर जे.डी. वेंस मीडिया से गुफ्तगू कर रहे थे। उन्होंने ये कहा कि ईरान की जानिब से जो पहली बार 10 निकात दिए गए थे उसको मुस्तरद कर दिया था। अब ईरान की जानिब से 10 निकात दिए गए हैं। ईरान से मुज़ाकरात पाकिस्तान के ज़रिए कर रही हैं। उन्होंने ये भी बताया कि लबनान हमले किसी भी सीज़फायर मुआहिदे का हिस्सा नहीं थे। हकीकत और सच ये है कि अमेरिका और ईरान मुज़ाकरात कर रही हैं। ईरान ने जो निकात दिए वो हमें समझ में आए हैं, पाकिस्तानियों को भी वो निकात समझ में आए हैं। ईरानियों ने आबनार हुर्मुज़ खोलने का वादा भी किया है। अमरीकी नायब सदर जे.डी. वेंस ने ये भी कहा है कि अगर ईरान चाहता है मुआहिदा लबनान की वजह से टूट जाए तो ये उनका अपना इंतखाब होगा। ईरान से मुज़ाकरात जारी हैं। अमरीका और ईरान मुज़ाकरात कर रही हैं। ईरान की जानिब से 10 निकाती तजावीज़ सामने आई हैं। ईरान के साथ मुज़ाकरात इसी हफ्ते से शुरू होने जा रही हैं। जंग बंदी का ताल्लुक ईरान से है और उन्होंने ये भी बताया कि लबनान पर